16 years following the death of Emperor Marcus Aurelius, the Roman Empire is governed by the depraved twin emperors, Geta and Caracalla. The vision Aurelius held for a perfect Rome has crumbled as the twins' belligerence permeates the empire, hastening its decline and making the great city's fall seem certain. In the North African kingdom of Numidia, Hanno enjoys a tranquil existence with his wife, Arishat. This peace is shattered by sirens heralding an incursion by the Roman army. Seeing smoke rising from the city, Hanno and Arishat don their armor and gather with their fellow citizens to hear their leader, Jugurtha, outline a defense strategy. Before heading into the fray, the couple exchanges rings, vowing to protect one another. They join the forces at the city wall, where Hanno delivers a rousing oration. Soon, Roman ships commanded by General Acacius approach the shore, and the Numidians unleash a volley from their catapults and bows. Despite sustaining heavy damage, Acacius commands his forces to press forward, retaliating with their own siege weapons and archers. Fire engulfs both sides, and many fall within minutes. Once the ships breach the fortress, Roman soldiers disembark from lowered platforms and begin their assault. Acacius leads the charge, mercilessly cutting down one soldier after another. Hanno mirrors his ferocity, killing Romans with astonishing speed. As the Romans advance behind the protection of their shields, Arishat provides cover from above with her arrows. When Acacius spots her, he orders his archers to return fire, and Arishat is struck and killed. Horrified, Hanno witnesses her body plunge into the sea just before a Roman soldier strikes him from behind, sending him into the water as well. While unconscious, Hanno sees the mythical ferryman guiding Arishat to the afterlife. He desperately screams her name and runs after her, but he resurfaces and awakens. He finds his wife's lifeless body nearby and weeps, removing the arrow from her chest before Roman soldiers capture him. Acacius then claims the city for Rome, as his men cremate the dead. All surviving citizens, Hanno included, are branded with hot irons, marking them as slaves. The captured slaves are transported to Rome by ship. During the voyage, Hanno notices Jugurtha is gravely wounded and helps to bandage him. Believing his time is short, Jugurtha reminisces about finding Hanno as a lost child in the desert. This prompts a memory for Hanno. As a boy from a loving family, he was sent away by his mother when Romans attacked their home. The ships eventually dock at Ostia, Rome's port. Acacius is hailed as a hero and crowned with laurels by the twin emperors. He requests a respite from war to be with his wife, but the twins reveal their plans for subsequent invasions of Persia and India. The slaves are taken to Antium, on the outskirts of Rome, where a man named Macrinus manages gladiator training. In a training arena, Jugurtha, Hanno, and several other captives are set loose to face a pack of feral baboons. Hidden soldiers fire darts at the baboons to enrage them, and the beasts begin to savagely attack the slaves. Jugurtha refuses to fight, kneeling in resignation. Hanno tries to save him, but it is too late, and Jugurtha is killed. When a baboon attacks Hanno, he jams his chains into its mouth, bites its leg, and then strangles it to death. This display impresses Macrinus, who decides to purchase Hanno. Afterward, Hanno and his companions are moved to the barracks with Macrinus's other slaves, who taunt Hanno with baboon noises. After being fed, the new recruits are presented to Macrinus for evaluation. Hanno remains silent, so Macrinus orders Vigo, a gladiator trainer, to fight him. Initially, Hanno appears to be at a disadvantage, but he quickly rallies, fighting back with remarkable skill to overcome Vigo. Hanno is then taken to Macrinus's private chambers, where Macrinus explains that he selects gladiators based on their rage, which Hanno possesses in abundance. Hanno finally speaks, stating his sole ambition is to kill Acacius. Macrinus informs him that this can be achieved by winning enough fights in Rome. Meanwhile, Acacius is reunited with his wife Lucilla, the daughter of the previous emperor. He confesses his weariness with the twins' tyranny, and together they begin to plot a rebellion to restore Rome's greatness. Sometime later, Macrinus takes Hanno to a lavish party in the city hosted by Senator Thrax. Before the emperors, Hanno and one of Thrax's slaves are compelled to fight to the death with swords. Hanno is initially reluctant to kill, using furniture and other objects to attack, but his opponent refuses to yield, leaving Hanno no choice but to fatally stab him. Geta is greatly impressed and asks Hanno his origin, to which Hanno replies with a quote about hell from Virgil's The Aeneid. Fortunately, the emperors are amused by the poetic reference and express their eagerness to see Hanno compete in the arena. After the party, Macrinus reprimands Hanno for his impertinence before the emperors and questions his knowledge of such literature. Hanno claims he learned from a Roman prisoner in his city, but Macrinus is skeptical. To Hanno's surprise, he is paid 2 coins for the fight and learns that gladiators can earn their freedom. That night, in a secret chamber, Lucilla and Acacius convene with several senators to discuss their plans to save Rome. Acacius assures them of the army's loyalty, and the senators pledge their support. A few days later, Hanno and other slaves are transported to Rome for the games at the Coliseum. They are awed by the city's architecture and statues, but also observe the widespread poverty. Macrinus meets with Thraex, and they agree to double their wagers. At the Coliseum, the emperors welcome Acacius and Lucilla to the Imperial box, and the crowd chants the general's name. Following a brief address from Acacius, the slaves enter the arena, followed by the champion gladiator, Glycio, riding a rhino. Hanno, acting as the group's leader, devises a strategy to evade the rhino's charges. The plan works initially, but a slave is soon struck down. His injury slows him, allowing Glycio to easily ensnare him with bolas before the rhino gores him to death. Hanno then runs dirt through his hands, a gesture that reminds Lucilla of her former love, Maximus, the protagonist of the first film. He also hurls dirt at the rhino, creating a diversion that allows him to leap aside as the beast charges into the arena wall. Glycio is thrown from the rhino and injured, but he gets up and pursues Hanno. As the 2 men brawl, Geta recalls Hanno's quote from the party, which Lucilla takes as another clue. Hanno and Glycio continue their brutal fight, using any weapon they can find. When Glycio gets the upper hand, Caracalla signals for death, but Lucilla pleads for mercy. Geta gives a thumbs up, sparing Hanno, who declares he wants no pity from Romans and resumes the fight. In a few swift moves, he stabs Glycio, and the crowd roars for the kill. This time Geta turns his thumb down, and Hanno decapitates Glycio with 2 swords. The crowd and the other slaves now chant Hanno's name. In the gladiators' quarters, a physician named Ravi tends to Hanno's injuries. After the fight, Lucilla retreats to her private chambers and pieces together the clues from the day. The quote and the dirt-running gesture confirm that Hanno is Lucius, the son she had with Maximus. When Lucius was a child and the legitimate heir to the throne, Lucilla sent him away to protect him from those who sought to kill him for power. Weeping at the realization that her son has returned, Lucilla invites Macrinus to a meal. She casually inquires about his slaves, but Macrinus senses she is concealing something. Later, Macrinus makes inquiries and learns that Lucilla had a son who vanished and that it was rumored her late husband was not the boy's father, as he preferred male company. This information allows Macrinus to begin connecting the dots. That evening, Lucilla uses a hidden passage to meet with a senator friend who arranges for her to be smuggled into the gladiators' cells. Hanno confirms that he remembers her and his true name, but declares that Lucius is dead. He is only Hanno now. Lucilla attempts to explain her actions, but Hanno, consumed by anger, shouts at her and orders her to leave. When Lucilla returns home, she tells Acacius that her son is alive and begs for his help, a conversation that is overheard by a maid. The next morning, Hanno is training with the other slaves, but a resentful Vigo dismisses the group and forces Hanno to operate the rowing mechanism by himself. By day's end, Hanno's hands are raw. Ravi treats them and shares his own story. He is a free man who could have returned to his homeland, but chose to stay in Rome after meeting a woman and starting a new life. The next gladiatorial contest is a mock naval battle. The arena is flooded, and sharks swim in the water. The combatants fire flaming arrows, and any man who is hit falls into the water to be devoured by the sharks. Hanno commands his team to row relentlessly. When they are close to the opposing ship, they destroy its oars. Arrows continue to fly, killing more men, but Hanno's crew never falters. With their enemy immobilized, Hanno's ship rams into the other vessel, splitting it in 2. Hanno and his men then board the enemy ship, killing them one by one. More bodies fall into the water as the wrecked ship is pushed against the arena wall, bringing Hanno close to the Imperial box. Seizing a crossbow, he fires at Acacius, but another combatant shoves him at the last moment, causing the arrow to go wide, landing between the twin emperors, who perceive it as an assassination attempt. After the battle, the slaves once again chant Hanno's name. Vigo confronts Hanno about his crossbow stunt, but Hanno retorts that Vigo should be grateful the arrow was not meant for him. Meanwhile, Lucilla's maid reveals everything to Thrax. Later, Macrinus arrives at Thrax's home to collect his winnings, declaring that the house now belongs to him. In place of money, Thrax offers secrets. A rebellion is being planned to overthrow the twins, but it has been postponed until a certain gladiator is freed from the arena. That night, palace soldiers arrive at Lucilla's home and take her into custody. In the gladiator's quarters, Acacius and his men attempt to rescue Hanno, but the emperor's soldiers are lying in wait and quickly shoot them with arrows before capturing Acacius. The couple is brought before the twins, and Geta berates them for their treachery, but Acacius merely laughs. Enraged, Caracalla draws his sword to kill Acacius, but Geta restrains him, insisting the punishment must be public. After the couple is imprisoned, Macrinus argues that crucifixion is for common thieves, while Acacius is a hero. Therefore, if the emperors wish to maintain public favor, dispatching Acacius to the arena would be a more prudent course of action. The next day, Ravi shows Hanno the shrine of gladiator champions, where Hanno sees that Maximus's name has been effaced. However, in Maximus's tomb, his armor and swords remain untouched. On the wall, Hanno reads the inscription, "What we do in life echoes in eternity." For the next contest, additional soldiers guard the Imperial box, and Lucilla is brought in chains. Acacius is the first to fight, pitted against soldiers of the Praetorian Guard. Despite the overwhelming odds and sustaining several wounds, the magnificent warrior manages to kill every one of them. Next, Hanno is sent into the arena to fight Acacius, leaving the crowd uncertain who to support. Both are superb fighters, and the duel continues for some time with no clear victor. Eventually, Acacius tires. He reveals to Hanno that he knows his true identity, drops his swords, and raises his hand in surrender. Geta immediately gives a thumbs down, but before Hanno can strike, Acacius professes his genuine love for Lucilla and his loyalty to Maximus. This act prompts Hanno to lower his own sword, infuriating the emperors, who command the archers to carry out the execution. Arrows rain down, killing Acacius. Hanno then addresses the crowd, asking if this is how Rome honors its heroes and warning that they should expect worse treatment. The crowd begins to boo the emperors, and the guards struggle to hold them back as the rulers exit the Coliseum. That evening, Macrinus visits Hanno and asks why he spared Acacius. Hanno replies that building a better Rome is possible, but Macrinus dismisses it as a pipe dream, reminding Hanno that he is merely a tool. On the streets, citizens are rioting, setting fires, and calling for the twins' deaths. The soldiers' attempts to quell the uprising are overwhelmed by the sheer number of protesters. In the royal chambers, Geta and Caracalla argue about how to handle the crisis. Caracalla blames Geta, who responds by throwing water in his brother's face. Caracalla storms out, and Macrinus follows, manipulating him by suggesting that Geta will publicly shift all the blame onto him. Tired of sharing power, Caracalla grabs a blade and slashes his brother's hand. Geta stops him, reminding Caracalla that he loves him, which gives him pause. Abruptly, Macrinus materializes behind Caracalla, guiding his hand to slash Geta's throat repeatedly before plunging the blade into him. The following morning, Lucilla visits Hanno and gives him Maximus's ring. Hanno, in turn, offers his condolences, and they reconcile with an embrace. Meanwhile, Caracalla assumes sole power, declaring that his monkey will be his first consul and Macrinus his second. Macrinus presents Geta's head to the senators, arguing that he requires more power to protect the government. They vote to make him the leader of the Praetorian Guard. Afterward, Macrinus visits Lucilla, revealing that he was once a slave to her father and now intends to end the imperial line by becoming emperor himself. At the same time, Hanno gives the ring to Ravi, instructing him to deliver it to Acacius's army in Ostia. Before departing, Ravi gives Hanno the keys to the cells. The next day, Ravi evades several guards to reach the general, who, upon hearing that the ring comes from Lucius, the Prince of Rome, immediately agrees to help. At the Coliseum, Vigo informs Hanno that this will be his final fight and presents him with the wooden sword of freedom, which he can win by defending his mother. Hanno suddenly opens his cell, strikes Vigo down, and slowly kills him with the wooden sword. The other slaves emerge from their cells and quickly dispatch the guards who try to stop them. As the slaves clear a path, Hanno proceeds to his father's tomb to retrieve his sword and armor. He still carries the arrow that killed Arishat and tells it to wait for him. Hanno then delivers an inspiring speech to the slaves, who all pledge to fight for their freedom. He enters the arena to find Lucilla tied to a post, surrounded by rebel senators, as the crowd chants his name. Royal soldiers enter the arena, and the crowd boos them. Before they can attack, the slaves rush in to even the odds. As a fierce battle rages, Caracalla is thrilled, but a frustrated Macrinus orders a commander to summon the cavalry. This is impossible, as the cavalry is defending the city from Acacius's approaching army from Ostia. They manage to spare a few soldiers, who enter the arena and begin to slaughter both slaves and senators. The crowd panics, and a guard's arrow kills a spectator. This ignites a full-scale riot, with citizens pushing soldiers from the walls, resulting in more civilian casualties. Amid the chaos, Macrinus seizes the opportunity to kill Caracalla by driving a bodkin into his ear. In the arena, enough soldiers have been killed for Hanno to attempt to rescue his mother. At that moment, Macrinus fires an arrow that strikes Lucilla in the heart. With her dying breath, she offers Hanno words of encouragement. Macrinus then flees on horseback to join the army at the city gates, and Hanno commandeers a horse to pursue him. Minutes later, outside the city, the Praetorian Guard confronts Acacius's army, led by Ravi. Hanno appears before Macrinus and introduces himself as Lucius, the true heir to the throne. He tackles Macrinus from his horse, and they engage in a sword fight. Macrinus proves to be a formidable adversary, breaking Hanno's sword and blinding him with dirt. Macrinus then forces Hanno into a river and repeatedly stabs at him, but the blade glances off his armor. Hanno has another vision of the afterlife, recalling his mother's final words before he re-emerges from the water with renewed strength. He punches Macrinus, retrieves his sword, severs his arm, and then delivers a fatal slash to his stomach. As the body floats away, Hanno reminds the armies of his grandfather's dream of a perfect Rome. The soldiers from both sides chant their support, agreeing to lay down their arms. That night, Lucius returns to the arena, collects some of Lucilla's blood, and then gathers a handful of dirt in his father's name. Remember to subscribe and activate notifications to stay updated with more content like this. We appreciate you tuning in.